but who's quite an interesting character. The people that worked for this person went on a bike ride or a dirt bike ride up to the northern mountains of Arizona, and lo and behold, in the middle of nowhere were army tanks sitting. Middle of nowhere. And they would want to get away. No explanation. You don't ask when a tank is pointing at you. But just a week later is when all the fires started. In Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado. They do this every year. Why? What did I tell you the last time I was here? I said many of these reptilians are coming up to the surface, and they start fires to keep people away so that you don't see them. And now they actually had tanks in place to keep people away. The evidence is right under your nose, and it's also in your pockets. And I've told you this, many of you, before. If you take out your $1 bill and you look in the back, you will see, of course, you always perhaps wondered why in the back of an American money would be the eye of Isis on a pyramid with reptilian skin around it, and a space, because this represents the Illuminati, and no one goes near them, and then everybody else, all these layers of the masses underneath, and under this is a banner that used to say, E pluribus unum, one for all. If you read it now, it says Novus Ordem Seclorum, New World Order. It's on your money. It's on all yes. Actually, when Prescott Bush created the IRS, they changed that. But listen to me. Next year, they told you they're color-coding the money. There's going to be blue and red. So they've color-coded everything. Now they've color-coded the terrorist level of alert. They've color-coded buildings in the cities. But Chicago color-coded all their buildings. Now everything is color-coded. That's why it's important to know what color codes are. That's why I teach color coding for all these years. And everybody said, well, what are we going to do with that? Well, now you know. And then when the stock market crashes, and it will, probably before the end of this year, there will not be a money system. They will take the money system and change it into a credit system. So whatever you have in the bank, you will get the equivalent in credits. Whatever you have in the stock market will be valueless. So I am not a financial advisor, but I would tell people, and I'm warning you, you better, if you have any significant cash in the stock market, get it out now, even if it's not worth what you put in, because it'll be worth nothing in a few months. There is a global ceremony that is being performed since 1945. It's called a global ritual. The first global ritual occurred in 1945. That global ritual was the symbolic, simultaneous destruction and creation of matter, which was the explosion of a nuclear weapon, which was tested first at the 33rd parallel in the United States. 33 is very important to the Illuminati. Most of you believe that the Masons have 33 degrees, but that's only for public consumption. Actually, Masonic levels go up to 42, which is why most major cities on the earth are located at the 42nd parallel, north and south. Look on a map and just go across the 42nd parallel, north and south. Most of the major cities of the earth are located within 100 miles of that. Atlanta is on the 33rd parallel. Denver is closer to the 42nd. Those are the two new capitals of the United States next year. '33, 1945, symbolic creation, destruction of matter, first global ceremony. What was trucked into the site at that time was an object with strange dimensions to it, and the dimensions measured exactly to what the Kabbalistic rituals would refer to as a golem. I don't know if any of you have heard that word before. In Kabbalah, a golem is an artificial being who is created by the Word of God, by putting the Word of God in its mouth, to become a servant or slave to the master who creates it. So in that symbolic destruction and creation of matter, the Illuminati were effectively saying that they were the gods and they were creating a slave race. That's all of you. The second global ritual occurred in 1969, and that number is significant as well. In 1969 was the hoaxed landing on the moon, which symbolically represented the unification of heaven and earth, male, female, God, goddess. That's why it was in 69. And that was, and I say hoaxed landing because it was filmed in Area 51 in Nevada and had actually not occurred on the moon. And the reason it didn't occur on the moon was because we already have bases on the moon since 1957. And if they were to actually take a camera to the moon and show you that, you would know that. So they couldn't do that. They had to stage it in 1969 and film it in Nevada. And if you look at the film of the moon landings that were supposedly taken over several days of being on the moon, and you superimpose them one over another, you will see all the places that they claim to have been are the same spot. You will also see the flag waving in the wind that's not supposed to be there. You will also see that if you speed up their slow movement on the surface of the moon, if you speed it up, it looks just like people walking on the ground like this, except they slowed it down to make it look differently. And even the way they showed the lunar module blasting off afterwards with the camera created a concussion that could only have been available with an atmosphere. All these things are available to you if you want to look at that. In fact, I believe there was a documentary on that not long ago on cable television. So what's the third and final global ceremony that's about to occur? Well, first of all, we have to look at how did this even begin? Who was the very first Mason? Officially. King Solomon. King Solomon was the first Mason. Why? Because he hired an architect to build the most magnificent temple in the universe. And when the architect was finished building it, it was so magnificent, King Solomon decided that he better kill the architect because he might build something more beautiful for somebody else. So he had the architect killed. Then he hired 3 assassins to kill the original assassin. Where have you heard that one before? How about the Kennedy assassination, 1963? Also involves 3. An assassin hired to kill an assassin. There were actually 3 shooters, not 1. And in fact, it was triangulated. There was someone in the grassy knoll, yes. There was someone in the tower, which was Lee Harvey Oswald, who actually didn't shoot. And there was also the driver of the car. And if you look at the Zapruder film, and you look closely, and I have a copy of it, you will see the driver of the car leaning around with a gun and shooting the president. And you see the puff of smoke come out of the gun, and you see the president's head go back. He wasn't shot from behind, because then he would go forward. His head went back. And that's why Jackie Kennedy went out the back of the car, because she was getting the hell away from the shooter. She wasn't going towards where the shooting was coming from. That would be stupid. If the shooter was from behind, she would have ducked down.
Why wouldn't she have talked about it?
She did. Have you not noticed before she died and for years afterwards, she's drugged out of her mind? I knew people in Manhattan that knew her, and you could not have a conversation with her. She was in la-la land all the time. She was so heavily drugged that it created the illness that killed her finally from the medication. She also had written her own memoirs, which are not allowed to be released until the year 2025. So why wouldn't they release her published memoirs? Because she would tell you this, and she will, but by that time it'll be too late. And so, what are we looking for? How many temples have there been? Well, there was the first one that was destroyed by the Greeks. Then they rebuilt it, and then that one in 70 AD was destroyed by the Romans.
couple months.
No, the person was disclosed by the